Today's adventure takes us through parts of northeast Ohio and northwest Pennsylvania as we head toward Lake Erie. A very busy day with a wide assortment of stops to explore rock stars, astronauts, presidents, and natural formations of land and water, so come along for the ride. We're excited to have you.
Here in an unassuming alleyway, a back alleyway in Warren, Ohio. Wait a minute. Davegrohl Alley in Warren, Ohio, with the world's largest drumsticks. Dave Grohl, Nirvana drummer, Foo Fighters, was born here. This little artistic alleyway unveiled for Warren, one of Warren's most famous residents, Dave Grohl.
David Grohl Alley was dedicated officially on August 1, 2009, and Dave actually attended along with his parents and some family members. Grohl's early years were rather chaotic. While born here in Warren, his family moved to Virginia when Dave was only about 3 years old, and his parents divorced only a couple of years after. But he still has family in the Warren area and visits from time to time. This artistic space was the brainchild of a local police officer who himself enjoyed quirky roadside attractions. But he designed the alley to be an ever-changing exhibit of local artists adding and altering the artistic expressions. So let us know, if you've been to Dave Grohl Alley before, what did you see that we didn't? Or what did we see that maybe you couldn't?
This is just a nice, neat little place, an homage to Dave Grohl here in Warren, Ohio. And further down Dave Grohl Alley, we have some folk art made. Really neat. We got a guitar, and we got Dave here, ready to bang on some drums.
Dave Grohl was born in Warren in January 1969. Later that year, perhaps the most famous flight and the most famous words were spoken by a man who took his very first flight here in Warren as well.
Here in Warren, Ohio, home of a young Neil Armstrong who at the age of 6 first dreamed of flying, took his actual first flight in an airplane nearby, the local airport. And from there, history was made. A short little park right on over here, constructed by other astronauts with models of lunar modules and rockets, honoring and commemorating Neil Armstrong in the site of his first flight at the age of 6 in Warren, Ohio. In northeast Ohio, situated between Cleveland and Erie, Pennsylvania, near the shores of Lake Erie, we come across the James A. Garfield National Historic Site, a site dedicated to the preservation of the story of one of America's lesser-known presidents, James A. Garfield, the 20th president of the United States. His grounds that were expanded by his wife, that James A. Garfield may not have known himself, but purchased in 1876, and this also served now as a museum and homage to his life in service and his life as president.
James A. Garfield, America's 20th president, was elected in November 1880. Yet, while Garfield only served 200 days as commander-in-chief before his assassination, the lead-up to his presidency was unique. Garfield remains to this day to be the only sitting member of the House of Representatives to be elected president. He also never actively sought to become president and was planning to retire from public service when he was nominated by the Republican Party for the election of 1880. Although he did not seek the nomination, once he was chosen to run, he became the first presidential candidate to conduct a front porch campaign, inviting guests of all types and influence to his property, where he spoke about his goals and policy positions, rather than traveling to campaign. The Visitor Center has audio and video displays that help bring the visitor both into the political fracas of the era and the intellectual development of the young James Garfield that formed many of his social and political values and ethical foundations. While the house inside also includes displays about Lucretia's development of the house, both during and after the president's lifetime.
Also, they run tours here through the house that show you parts of the house exactly as they were. Many original pieces, including James Garfield's original library, his office, and many of the artifacts that he had kept, that his wife Lucretia had kept here in the farmhouse as well. Again, one of America's lesser-known presidents, but a very fascinating individual with fascinating thoughts and beliefs around education, politics, religion, theology, science, philosophy.
Before his presidency, Garfield had been living in Washington, D.C. as a member of the House of Representatives, but in 1876, he and his wife purchased the house in Mentor, Ohio. The house remained in the family's hands for 60 years until its donation for historical preservation in 1936. Over the years, Garfield's wife Lucretia had continued to add on to the house, including the establishment of the Memorial Library in 1885, after her husband's passing, what would become the precursor to modern presidential libraries. We bade farewell to President Garfield and headed east into Pennsylvania to explore some beautiful and unique terrains. The lakeside area between Cleveland and Erie is largely filled with urban and suburban development. However, Erie Bluff State Park provides the only undeveloped land along the lakeshore within Pennsylvania, allowing fascinating views from the bluffs overlooking the water from up to 90 feet high, and a savanna-type old-growth forest system high above the lake.
From the parking lot, you could go down to the beach and then walk the beach trail, but you never know when those waves come in.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And sometimes it could just get naturally closed off.
After exploring Erie Bluffs, we continued up the shoreline to Erie, where we came to Presque Isle State Park. Presque Isle is considered by many to be one of Pennsylvania's very best state parks, and it was easy to see why. Unfortunately, our day was running long, so we were limited in what we could explore. This state park is home to protected wildlife species, 2 lighthouses, hiking trails, a historical marker for the importance of Presque Isle during the War of 1812, fishing ponds, marina, observation tower, and the Tom Ridge Environmental Center, which was closed when we arrived near sunset, so we will definitely look to come back to Erie and the Presque Isle area.
Here on the beach at Presque Isle State Park, Erie, Pennsylvania. Right near sunset, the beautiful Lake Erie, one of the 5 Great Lakes. A lot of protected wildlife, birds, turtles. There are also some other lakes in here with fishing available, and Presque Isle State Park actually forms the peninsula that protects the city of Erie from the rest of Lake Erie. Lighthouses, walking paths, fishing spots, homes on houseboats, and different type of trees and landscapes from what is typically understood from Pennsylvania nature of mountains and woods and forests.
We had a long day venturing out to Erie, where we hope the weather cooperates for us tomorrow. We have a very special event happening tomorrow that we may not get a chance to recreate for several decades, so be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell to see our next video. Thanks for watching.
On the eve of the solar eclipse, Gabe and Dominic are here constructing their final ritualistic worship piece.
Don't worry, after the eclipse, you guys won't be able to do lots of things, like breathe.
As
Our little thing here.
as they welcome the alien life forms who they will worship following the eclipse. This is also a shrine to Triangulus, the Greek god of billiards, with the new shrine here on the shores of Lake Erie.